everyone. So in the world of cellular, molecular and developmental biology, there's this really cool implication of how we can use this technology to improve our constantly losing biodiversity in the nature and also bring back extinct species. How cool is that? So, how scientists have been approaching to do this is as follows. You know, everyone knows the DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, is the code of life. It encodes a series of instructions that takes a single cell and essentially commands its space and time of how the cell is going to start dividing, replicating itself, and then differentiating into different cell types so that eventually a three-dimensional multicellular organism is formed. So people were thinking maybe if we were able to access the DNA of an extinct species like a dinosaur or a dodo bird, then maybe we can bring the species back because we know the code, right? We know the code that is encoding how to essentially take that initial cell and bring it into a multicellular state. Well, it turns out that it's not only the code that we need, but also the exact specific cellular molecular environment that that DNA molecule is supposed to be working at. And essentially what that means is we need this of the organism, the egg. Because the egg, every single organism's egg has a slightly different molecular environment, micromolecular environment, which that DNA code is supposed to be initiating its chain of events that will eventually lead that cell, that zygote, to become an adult, fully grown organism. And the third thing in this equation is the uterus. So this egg sitting in my pocket does not become a chicken by itself, right? Or it does not, the beginning cells that would make this egg does not become a fully grown adult egg by itself. It needs to be in the right environment, and that would be the uterus, where oxygen, nutrients are supplied, the waste is taken away constantly, and it's a perfect environment for that single cell to be growing into a multicellular organism. So what scientists have been thinking about this is as follows. We obviously cannot get a viable egg or a living uterus of a species that's already extinct, right? That much is obvious. But what if we could utilize a living relative, a genetical close relative of the target species that we're trying to bring back to use its egg and its uterus? So here's how the train of thought would follow. Let's say the example of the dodo bird being extinct. We cannot have a dodo bird egg, so we can put dodo bird's entire genome into its egg. But we can, let's say a goose. We can use a goose's egg, and we can essentially we can zip away the original DNA that's in a goose egg. We can put in the complete genome of the dodo bird in that egg, which becomes a viable zygote, and then we can attempt to put that viable zygote into a real-life goose's uterus. And the results might surprise you. Scientists have already been trying and making such experiments, and I think there are some very interesting results, and potentially in the near future we might be seeing some extinct species that we thought were extinct being back in zoos and in public news. You should check it out, it's interesting.